You are now listening to Bull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Bull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook. This is the co-host, Mr. Bobby Brown, PGA Tour caddy for SH Kim, which you're going to be hearing a lot about, not only in this episode, but in the months and years to come. My goodness gracious, what an absolute stud out there. We're going to be talking about that, but let's go through a little bit of a rundown here for what we're going to talk about on tonight's show. Obviously, we've got the title Rising Stars to watch because we're going to be catching up with Mr. Bobby Brown, talking about SH Kim. We're also going to be talking about another rising star, but we'll recap the Fortinet Championship as we do so. And then we've got a somebody coming back to the tour, Mr. Grayson Murray, that you know very well, Mr. Bobby Brown, and he is on his way back after winning the latest Korn Ferry Tour, so we'll be talking a bit about that. And then guess what? It has been a month and a week, and guess what we have back?
LIV Golf is finally back, man.
Yeah, LIV Golf Chicago.
I'm so happy.
I mean, I'm very happy. What can I say? I mean, it's an exciting time.
Where'd it go for a while? It just snuck up and showed up. You know?
We're going to be talking about that because I've got a little bit of a rant to talk about there. Okay. But
I like
before we do dive in to our show today, we do have a little bit from our sponsor, Swannies Golf, which Bobby and I, we are rocking the gear today. Thank you, Swannies, for sending out some gear. This shirt, too, I call it my Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca shirt. If you can see it, it's got like snakes. It's got mushrooms with eyeballs on it. They call it the Dante, but I'm pretty sure that they need to switch that to the Aaron Rodgers. Get yourself some ayahuasca, wear this golf shirt, and have yourself a ball. But without further ado, Swannies.co, we've got the promo code, so make sure, folks, you are taking advantage of this. It is PullHookGolf25 for the promo code, which gets you 25% off your entire order at Swannies.co. So go there today, get yourself some gear. Again, this is called the Dante. I know, Bobby, you got the Swan Delta going on there. Gosh, I forgot what this hat is called, but I like this one. This one's solid too.
That's definitely that's definitely modern. Anything with the rope in it is probably the newer ones, I would imagine. I don't know what it's called either, but I just love the way they fit and I love the way they look. I rocked it all day today, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bobby, let's catch up a little bit, buddy, because it's been a couple of weeks.
It's been a couple of weeks. You've been bringing in all these VIPs.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I was under the weather. I know you were under the weather as well. We both got a little bit of the vid of what's going around or whatever the hell it is, because it put me down for a couple of days. But, Bobby, you were out there with SH Kim this past week at the Fortinet Championship out there in Napa. Whoo, buddy, you got yourself a bag.
I got a horsey that can go. Go fast. Like I was telling you, it's funny. He showed up, you know, he got a little tune up over in Korea. He went home. He was off for 5 weeks and he had a tune up in, I think if you see his hat, if you probably saw his hat on TV, it's Shinhan. I don't know if it's a bank or whatever it is, but it's his primary sponsor. They have a KPGA event. So obviously he was obligated to play in that. He didn't make the cut. I asked him how he played. He's like, oh, I play like shit. And I'm like, did you practice or anything? He's like, I don't really practice that much. You know, he's getting married to Sohi, and that's December 2nd. So they were busy doing that stuff. He had his dad. He said it was a cool week. He had his dad on the bag. His dad had caddy for him before. He was bummed he didn't make the cut, but I was really, you know, I was really worried about the whole jet lag thing or something like that coming back over. And I asked him about it when I saw him immediately. He said he was fine. He's been through it so many times. It really doesn't affect him much. So, man, I'll tell you, he showed up I'll back up. I got there early because I was having a little coming to Jesus motivational thing. And I just, you know, I got there Saturday and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out Sunday and Monday before he gets there. And I'm going to roll balls to every hole location because he leans on me. He's been leaning on me a lot. And it's funny, I used to do that early. I used to do that early in my career, but I don't know why I stopped doing it, other than I have been working for really, really good players that had been on tour for a long, long time and knew the whole locations and knew the tendencies. And if they happened to ask me something, I was, I knew pretty much what they knew, just not to their level. But I guess it was what kind of a Tom Brady thing, where I'm like, I'm just going to fucking outwork everybody. And if he calls me in one time and he makes the putt and I have information, because we started doing this in Minnesota when he was showing, when he had a pretty good week and finished 27th, we made a deal that I was going to set pins for Thursdays and Fridays, and we were going to hit putts during our practice round. And I was just going to stand behind him and document every single one. And I just took it to another level. And like I said, he only has to make one putt. And, he asked me like 4 times and he made all 4 of them. And it was all information on holes that I had. So that felt really good, but that's neither here nor there. He showed up Monday and he had a sparkle in his eye. He didn't have any bags under his eyes, which I had seen for 8 weeks. I was complaining about how tired he was and he needed some time off, and he just looked fresh. And I'll tell you what, more importantly, he came, I can simply put it this, he came with a structured practice plan, which is the first time that I've seen out of him. And I am talking mostly on the greens. There's apparently some Korean guru that he's putting guru. I wouldn't know what his full name is. I know his last name's Choi, but I think on his Instagram, he's House of Choi, if you ever get to check him out. And he printed this little book. I wouldn't know how to explain it, the drills that he was doing. I've seen Cam McCormick do them sometimes. He wouldn't really concentrate on making putts in the hole, but he would have like a rubber disc out there, and they were more speed drills from certain distances, right? And every time he rolled one perfectly 2 feet by, he would switch the cup to that foot, and he would keep going for about an hour. And he really spent a lot of time working on aim point and stuff like that. And it's funny. I was watching him go through all this, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy has got a plan, because it's always been in the past with not him, but other Korean players that I've worked for, where you have to sit there and you have to watch every single putt and you have to give them feedback and information. And basically they're just asking you, how's the stroke look? How's the stroke look? And that's pretty much it. How's the stroke look? Did it start online? It can get very repetitious after a while. And I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was caddying for Dustin and when Tiger was in his heyday and that kind of stuff, or even Phil for that matter, you never really saw any of their caddies on the putting green with them. It was their time to get some feel and figure some things out and kind of get into their own little zone. And I was having flashbacks of that, and I was just like, I'm just going to leave him alone. If he calls me over, he calls me over. And he was just very, very dedicated to this. We put in a super long day on Monday. We played. Tuesday. We played 18 holes. Man, I will say this. I got to the golf course at 5:45 in the morning, and I don't think I left until 6:50 or 6:55, something like that. You're talking about a solid 12 or a 13-hour day. And then Wednesday we were alternate for the Pro-Am, and we did not get in. And it was the same thing. He practiced for like 8 or 9 hours, and he looked great on the range. He looked just okay. During the practice round. You really can't tell anything much on the practice round. I will tell you, Thursday when we warmed up, he did not warm up. He didn't warm up very good, which never is alarming to me. Sometimes when I've had guys, you've heard me say in the past, sometimes when you watch a guy stripe it on the range, you're like, oh shit, we're either going to have a great day or not a really great day, because sometimes they don't take that to the golf course with them, if that makes any sense.
It for sure does.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just a great week. We got off to a good start on Thursday. We made 7 birdies. We didn't make any bogeys. He looked absolutely flawless. We had a great pairing with Patton Kazire, and he had a new caddy on the bag. Do you know who Dynamite is? We call him We call him Dynamite. He does a little gambling thing. He's a caddy thing. He does a little dynamite. Like he's kind of a tout, and what games he likes. He's kind of a sports expert. I can't figure out if his name's Dean Emerson. I can't figure out if he's a bookie or not. He hasn't been around for a long time, 4 or 5 years. He's good friends with Grayson Murray, who we'll talk about later in the show. But it was just a super comfortable pairing. We also played with Hank Lee Biota, the lefty, who is just another great guy to get paired with. And my guy put on a clinic. I mean, he didn't make a bogey. He made 7 birdies. Gosh, he had 2 putts inside 10 feet for for birdie, and had a couple eagle looks, and you were never going to sit back and go, oh my God, that could have been 59 or 60. But now that I think about it a couple days later, I'm like, wow, that could have been really, really a good one. But it was just,
what impressed you the most about his game though?
Man, overall in general for the 4 days, well, I would think it's, I would be a fool to say it's not the putting, because that's what it definitely impressed me the most. And I'll tell you why it impressed me the most. We ended up getting beat 2 shots, but Sahith was in pretty much complete control all of Sunday. It was either a 3 or a 4 shot lead, pretty much what it seemed like to me. There's not a ton of leaderboards out there, but there was enough that I knew what was going on. But he made, he probably had, I'm going to say, Matt, he probably had 4 putts between 8 and 15 feet to save par, and he buried all of those. And those are the most important putts. But I would say the putting was definitely the thing that impressed me the most. God, it all impressed me. The ball striking, the short game, the bunker game. He struggled a little bit with uphill putts. I can tell you that. He left quite a few short in the jaws, but he made a bunch of That's
what the broadcasters were saying throughout the round. So in the second round, they were talking about how
that's where it was.
He didn't make a putt over 12 feet in that second round. He still shot 4 under, and he left everything short.
Yeah. He did. Well, I'll tell you why I think he left everything short, because on Thursday on number 5, which is it's a pretty gettable par 5. I will tell you this: we were all, a bunch of us were talking. They really brought those fairways in this year. Like, there were some fairways that were, like that par 5 I'm going to talk about, number 5, at about 310 yards. It was 12 yards across, literally 12 yards across. That's not even the U.S. Open, with out of bounds right and out of bounds left. I
saw he split one of them. That was only
he did it. He actually hit that fairway. He hit that fairway 2 days, missed it the third day, I think, had to lay up, and then barely drove it in the rough on Sunday. But we were able to get something out of there. There's some trees in the way, and even if you drive in the middle, you have to curve it. You have to curve it on that hole. But I lost track. What did you? Was it?
I was asking what was the most impressive aspect of his game throughout the week.
Well, it was everything. But I think, now that I think about it, I think his ability to deal with the pressure, his mental strength, which is no surprise out of a Korean, because they're pretty much in their own zones out there anyways, because they can't really talk to anybody. They don't have much to talk about. There's a little chit chat, but man, he just did everything really, really good. I will say this, the one thing I thought that it's crazy. You finish second and you get beat 2 shots, and you walk away going, okay, what could we have gotten better at? And like I said, he missed some short birdie putts, but he also made some clinching par putts that came the round going. So that breaks even, right? You expect that's good. That's gonna happen. Sometimes you'd rather make the par putts, honestly, to tell you the truth. And man, I'll just tell you that he was so impressive to me, and that I got to see the real S.H. Kim that I saw bits and pieces of, and I saw a nice streak of it at Minnesota, but this one was like, we played a practice round with Jeff Ogilvy and Cam Davis. Jeff Ogilvy has a lot of power with the President's Cup. He's going to be a captain. He's always going to be an assistant captain. Cam Davis played in his first one last year, and we've been raving about him on this show even way before he won, when I saw him play up close in Detroit. And and I told Jeff when we were walking down a couple fairways, he goes, okay, what's the story with this guy? I have a little relationship with Jeff in the Koreans, and I'm like, man, I really think that this guy is going to be on one of your President's Cups team. And then after we played 18 holes, Jeff's like, man, if you were going to teach a kid how to swing a golf club, you would use S.H. Kim as an example, something like that, because it almost looks flawless. Oh, I was going to tell you that, one thing that we were a little disappointed in was we usually carry a 2-iron or 3-iron, depending on the course, and there's 3 2-iron tee shots out there on that golf course. And in the practice round, I wanted to make 2-iron. He goes, hey, can I tell you something? He goes, this new 5-wood, he's got he's a Titleist guy, but it's like an 11 club deal, right? So he has a stealth 3-wood and a stealth 5-wood that he carries. And he goes, I have a lot more confidence in the 5-wood than I did in the 2-iron. And that place gets pretty windy in the afternoon. And I'm not personally a huge, I like seeing the low running 2-iron. It can't really get him. It might overcurve one way or the other, but when it's hitting the ground fast and it can't get messed up by the wind. But when he said that to me, we were standing on 4T, which is a very short par 4, but it's a very difficult par 4 with a very tight driving area. And he kind of hit a 5-wood down the middle. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. We're going to use this 3 times during the weekend, possibly on par 5 or 2 also. But we probably hit that club off the tees 12 times, and I'm going to tell you, probably only 5 of them found the fairway, and the other 7 or whatever were kind of a little high spinny. I don't want to say weak, but a little right miss, which is great because I'd rather have that than a quick left miss. But it was something that I thought could get better, and I don't know if it was the way he was swinging on it, if he was trying to hit little cuts. I wasn't giving himself enough space, aiming down the left side. But that was something I was actually going to run by Todd Chu, who is one of the TaylorMade reps, to take a look at it to see if he had any ideas on tweaking it or anything like that. But, it was just, man, I just had the feeling after the first day, I'm like, is he going to keep this going? And honestly, I knew he was playing so good. I knew he was going to keep it going. Did I think we were going to really have a chance to win? You never really know, right? Anything could happen. It's golf. Anything could happen at any time. But he didn't get off to the greatest of starts on Friday, and he still shot. What did we shoot? 3 under or 4 under? I thought we shot 3 under on Friday. 69. Do you have the scorecard in front of you? I think it was 69.
I don't. Let me pull it up.
Yeah. I think it was, or maybe it was Saturday. It was 69. How about that? It's only 3 or 4 days ago, and I can't even remember.
Sunday was 68. Day 2 was all right. So day 2, we were both wrong. Day 2, Friday, was 67. 5 under.
Okay. Excuse me. I got Saturday mixed up. God, how did I miss that?
Saturday was 3 under with 69.
Yeah, so 12 under, and we're in the second to last group, and we're paired with Sahith Theegala. And for any of you listeners that were watching on TV, you know that he had tons of friends and family out there, and they were obnoxious, honestly, to tell you the truth. And I know you're gonna ask me what I think about Sahith Theegala, and I love him as a person and I love him as a golfer, and you're gonna ask me what his future is, but I'm gonna tell you what, he's got a lot of growing up to do on the golf course still. I won't get into too much of that until we do have a little segment on him coming up, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
You can wait on that one.
A little bit more of that, but
I'm not done with SH yet.
What's that?
I'm not done with SH yet.
I know.
I do need to know, though. So, new putter in the bag.
New putter, Odyssey 2-ball, red shaft.
Is this going to stay?
Well, fuck yeah, it's going to stay. I mean, there was 3 other, granted, there was 3 other putters in the locker room, but it's funny, when I went in and got the clubs, when I first saw him, I'd been to the golf course, and he was staying on campus at the resort there, and he had already, organized his locker. And for the first time, he only had that putter in his golf bag. And usually I'm out there with 2 or 3 putters early in the week, and he's trying to figure it out. So I figured, I didn't know about the House of Choi, the putting guy, or anything like that until I saw him really get to work on Tuesday. So yeah, that thing's not going anywhere. My guy's got, my guy is, I think my guy thinks I think this reaffirms that he belongs, so to speak. You know what I mean? That it got late in the year, and he had a great rookie year at 83, and any other year he would have been easily in the playoffs, easily kept his card. And honestly, if he gets in the first playoff event and you make the cut at Memphis at number 83, there's a high percentage chance you're going to the second playoff event as a rookie too. So it was just bad luck for him there. But I think this is just that thing where he's just like, I just went head and head with Sahith Theegala, who got out, and my guy really didn't play that good. He didn't play his best day. It wasn't on Saturday. He made his first bogey on Saturday, but he handled it quite well. But he hit a couple bad shots, but I can't tell you, what that must have done to his confidence, that I didn't, he wasn't nervous. I didn't sense any nerves. He didn't say anything about being nervous. And then, and I think that set him up for the JT pairing on Sunday, because that's the big pairing, right? It's just
for sure.
That's just like, that's Justin Thomas is not a generational talent. I mean, he's one, he's one of the best golfers in the world. Granted, he is struggling right now, and I could tell even by Sunday he's still struggling a little bit with something, mostly tee shots, it seems to me. But my guy didn't really bat an eye at that pairing, and he fought his way through it. And granted, everybody, like I said, once again, nobody was rooting for us. Everybody was rooting for them. And in some respects, that takes the pressure off of you because you don't have anything to lose. But I will say this: after Saturday's round, when I got back to the hotel room, I knew we were going to be close. I knew he was going to have a chance to win. I knew that if he came out and maybe made a birdie early or just made a few nice pars and got into the flow of the round, that he was just swinging it so good, and the par fives there are so gettable. And if you make a bunch of pars early at that golf course, you don't panic because there's 3 par fives in, a 10-hole stretch they're all hittable if you hit the fairway. But the way he handled himself, he looked better than Justin Thomas. Honestly, his swing looks better than Justin Thomas, and JT is still struggling with something. He had a couple tee shots that were all over the map. You can tell he's a little bit on tilt with the temper and that kind of stuff, but he was very respectful. And I will tell you this: he on the last hole, I heard Justin Thomas, walk up to my guy to shake his hand and whisper in his ear, and I heard exactly what he said. He goes, "Man, you're going to be out here for a long time. I'm really impressed with the game you have, and I'm super happy that you had a nice week as a rookie and that kind of stuff. It wasn't that long ago that I was there, and keep doing what you're doing, and the whole world's going to hear more from you." And coming from a guy like JT, who will go out there with not a little gamesmanship, but with a little attitude, because he's earned it, I guess, so to speak, like, you're not going to beat me. And it just had to be a huge confidence builder for him. And for me as a caddy, I'll be honest with you, it's, this year has been very awkward, and I hadn't not once in a year been in that position that I was in. But and I, in the past, personally, when my guys in contention, I can't wait for one hole to be over because honestly, Matt, my heart's beating a little bit faster, and you want to get away from the people, and you want to get out in the middle of the fairway, and you're kind of holding your breath on the first tee shot and that kind of stuff. And that never, for some reason, I was as calm that I can remember as I've ever been in contention. And I think that was just the fact that I knew he was playing so well, and whether he was going to have a good day or a bad day was not going to deter from it being a successful week. And honestly, if you look at his last 3 tournaments, and I'm going to include, Minnesota in there, that's 2 out of 3 tournaments that he's technically been in contention. So that shows me something, that there's some kind of a trend brewing there, even with a 5-week break. But he doesn't really scoreboard watch. I was scoreboard watching. We got off to that Sunday start where we just kind of made a few pars, and we made, he made a nice.
I think, what was it, 12 straight pars?
Is that what it was? No, it wasn't that many, because we birdied.
You guys were 4 under at the on the back 9 after.
Was it 12 straight pars? I'm trying to think when we made our first one.
Round 4. Oh, so no. Front 9 was even par. Then you made your first birdie on 10. Now a quick word from our sponsor. Swannies is here with a fresh take. Performance-based materials are a given these days. But if you're looking for the stretchiest and most lightweight pieces that deliver a look that says, "I'm here for a good time," take a walk on the Swannies side. With fabric sourced from recycled plastics and designs sourced from our very own weekend warriors, Swannies is looking out for both our planet and those that need a little style to boost their drive another 15 yards. Premium looks from top to bottom at swannies.co. And then your next birdie didn't come until he went 15, 16, and 18 with birdies.
15, 16, and 18. And that's that part of the course I'm telling you where there's a couple par 5s where you can really get him. And he hit some phenomenal shots. He just hit some phenomenal shots, and it was just a pleasure to be standing next to the guy that was so focused. I was telling, I was out there rolling balls and everything like that. And he called me in like 4 times, and I had information on the putt. And there's some tricky putts out there. There's, it's in the canyon. So you have, the whole topography thing of putts coming off the mountain. And then you kind of, after years, you figure out where the bay is, because you're not really that far from the bay, to tell you the truth. And that's kind of like a sneaky little pull out there. But I felt like I helped, is what I did. You know what I mean? I felt like I helped. He didn't need much coaching as far as club selection goes on approaches, maybe a handful, 5 or 6 times. Obviously we had a big discussion. I think it was on Saturday on 17. Did you notice they rerouted the golf course, right? So 16 used to be the old number 10, 17, the par 3 over the water now used to be the old number 11. And they just and 15, the par 5 used to be 9 at par 5. So they rerouted it to make more room for the people and make it a little bit more exciting on the finish with, I guess, that par 3 over the water late. But Saturday, we had a front pin there that was 4 on, and we had just made a couple birdies after being even par for a long time. And, we had a big discussion between a 9 and an 8 iron, and we decided to hit 9 iron, and, he stuffed it and made the putt. Theegala made the putt in front of us, and we stuffed it, made the putt. But, moving to Sunday, we didn't do anything early, and Theegala jumped. I think he made 2 birdies in the first 4 holes. He jumped out to a quick 4-shot lead. But if you would have told me who the guy to beat was after watching Sahith play on Saturday, I honestly thought that Sahith was going to be the guy to beat. I mean, the reason why I say that JT is JT, but he has been struggling. But I had read something on Saturday night on his presser where he said, man, I shot 7 under out there and I really didn't play that good, which I was like, well, maybe he's not playing that good. And he just made everything. And at that point, I didn't know if my guy was going to be intimidated by Justin or not. But I would have said that Sahith was the guy that was going to be the guy to win, to tell you the truth, from what I could tell. But, like I said, we were never tied for the lead or 1 back or 2 back or had a chance to put the squeeze on him or anything like that. And, we got hot late. And when we birdied 15 and 16, I think we were still 4 off the lead, or maybe 3 off the lead. Sahith hadn't played 16 yet. I think he birdied it actually. And then 17 was kind of a tough pin, and we had about 20 to 25 feet. But, it's one of those Napa 6-7 foot breaking 25 footers, which there's a ton of out there. I don't know if you could tell. Did you watch a lot on TV? Did you get to see?
I watched all 4 rounds, but you can see some of it, but it's always tough to see.
It is
how undulating greens are on TV.
Everything looks flat on TV. So we didn't birdie 17. We got to 18. He kind of drove it in the left rough on 18, and JT did too. But the left, there was some spots where the rough was really bad out there, and there's some spots where the rough was very, very playable. And we happened to catch one of those lies. And, I think at that point we were down 3, and you don't think about winning. It's funny. We had 241 meters front or whatever, which is, 260 and 260 something and 282 hole. And there's a little tree in the way. And I'm like, if you can just draw this 3-wood a little bit, if we can get it back, it's a back pin, but it's actually one that you want to hit back over the back of the green, because the way the green runs to the back, you can bounce one off the grandstand and come close to the collar or whatever. And, we were too clear. Believe me, I knew what we were clear the last hour and a half between 2nd and 3rd place, because that was my biggest concern. I couldn't do anything about we couldn't do anything about what Sahith was doing out there, but we could sure as shit try and do something to make sure that we were going to finish 2nd. So
how'd you hold up under the pressure?
How'd
you hold up under the pressure?
It was the most comfortable I've ever been in my life. It was just the craziest thing. He had me so relaxed out there. I was just so confident. The most pressure I ever feel is on the first tee shot, because he, on that hole on number 1, the first day he hit driver and he striped it down the middle. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th day, when we got there the 2nd day, he goes, can I hit 3-wood? That's how he says it. Can I hit 3-wood? And I'm like, yeah, you can hit 3-wood. And he hit 3-wood out there, like 330, 340 yards. He hit it by Libiota's and Patton's driver. So I've worked for players before. Brendan Steele comes to mind. Dustin comes to mind, that hate hitting the first tee shot with a 3-wood. And I could never figure out why. And now I'm just thinking to myself, well, I know why they want to hit a driver. The face on it is like that big, and a 3-wood's like this. And those good players don't sky drivers, but they accidentally might sky 3-wood. So I was probably the most nervous I would be Saturday and Sunday's tee shot in front of all the people with the 3-wood. And he just hit these tomahawk draws that just win forever. And it really put me at ease, but I never really felt any pressure. I mean, I'm sure if we were jockeying back and forth for the lead, maybe something like that would have been creeped in, but I never needed to calm him down, and I've raved about his good attitude, in the past. But when we were standing over that one in the rough on 18, I'm like, hey, can you draw? He's like, it's going to be hard for me to draw it. It's easier for me to cut it out of the rough, but but the no spin factor in drawing it. And he goes, and I think he looked back to the leaderboard and thought he wasn't going to win, and he goes on, and let's just, we just lay up, and you don't know the cameras were all over us, obviously, for 2 days, they're right there and they go through boom mic. And I didn't even think twice with the boom mic there. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking lay up. I think if you can knock this thing on and you knock down an eagle putt, I don't care if he's got a 3 or 4 shot lead or not. Fucking weird shit happens, and I told him that. He goes, why no layup? And I go, I think you can knock this on. And what if he hits it under the lip of the bunker on 18 and he's got it and he leaves it in the bunker? And my guy was just so relaxed, and he hit the 6-3 with like 30 feet pin high for eagle, and he left it short in the jaws, which he struggled on those uphill putts all week. But it's funny. I got back into we were just so excited to finish second. I got back to the locker room and I looked at the scoreboard on the TV in the locker room attendant's office, and I'm like, oh my God, he bogeyed the last. And I go, he bogeyed the last? And they're like, yeah, he had a bad lie in the rough. And I guess he ended up making like a 6-footer or an 8-footer for bogey, but it's just like what every decision you made turned out to be the right decision. Hey, you know what else I noticed? Every bounce, when we thought a ball was like over the green or something like that, or left of the green or something, you would walk up there and you'd be like, is that our ball? Do you know what I mean by that? They just, every bounce was absolutely perfect. And we got a lot of luck with a lot of good playing. And, this guy just moved from 83 to 57 like that, so the 1 through 50, they can't change positions. Like an Eric finished third, right? Who finished fourth. Eric Cole, who finished fourth, who's probably going to be rookie of the year. I did think about that though, too. I was daydreaming on one tee and I'm like, God, if my guy happens to win this thing, now all of a sudden he's in the talk for rookie of the year, because none of these rookies have won. It's Taylor Montgomery's been playing so poor, he's out of the picture. So it's almost like it's automatic Eric Cole. But man, I could ramble forever and ever. But the fact is with this new schedule next year, and only 60 guys making these designated events, number 51 through 60 on this fall list is going to be in the first two, which is Pebble Beach and Riviera, which are two of my home courses, had a lot of luck, a lot of experience, and had some wins at. And that's just like the major goal now. The negative thing is I don't want to say it's negative that he's getting married, but he's getting married in a big fiesta in Korea on December 2nd. So looks like we're only playing the next 3. We're going to play through Japan. He's going to shut it down. So we need one more really good week. He played good at Jackson last year. He's not the biggest Bermuda fan. He had a chance to win Vegas. He finished 4th there last year. So, man, maybe we can keep it. Maybe we can keep it going, and that would just be great. And I was just so, I'm happy for me financially, right? That's like a big deal with the shitty year. You can do.
Yeah,
the guy makes $1 million, and Caddie makes 8% or whatever. You can do the math, and it's funny how it just shows up right before something like this. What a blessing that it shows up right. It shows up right before the holidays, which is a big thing. And this is the first time that we're going into a big down season until January, where other than my little side hustle shoe biz that can get us through and a little bit of savings. I mean, it was a huge relief. It was a huge relief off of me. It's funny. He rolled in when he tapped in that birdie. He came back to me and I go, "Now you come buy house." He goes, "Really?" He doesn't even know how much he makes, right? He's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "How much you think I make?" I go, "I think you make like $1 million." He goes, "What, $1 million?" I think like 500, 600,000. I'm like, "No, man, this is, you had too many T42s in you, brother." This is the big dough. That's why those purses are so top heavy. So, but it was super exciting. I will tell you that it's funny when I get a guy in the mix the first person that I get a text from, and I got a boatload of texts because everybody knows it's been a tough year for the kid. But the one old man from Vegas, our favorite instructor, is the first guy to text me Butch Harmon.
Really?
Every single time, like clockwork. Like Butch Harmon still watches golf, and he just says the nicest. He's a motivator, just the nicest things and the nicest things about my guy's swing. And it's funny, even Justin, after 3 holes, he's like, "Oh my God, you got another one," right? Because because I work for Sungjae and Siwoo. He goes, "Oh my God, you got another one." And he goes, "This one swings at the best of all of them."
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What's the scoop?" So I was kind of giving him the scoop on him, and he was like, "Man, I got beat down my rookie year too, and I'm not Korean, and I speak English, and I could go home, and my guy could never go home because he didn't have a home, and it just took its toll." And even Bones came up to me after like 5 holes, and he's like, "Man, I said, there's a chance that that he could be the best one." And obviously they saw him on top of his game, and I'm
going to tell you right now, he's the best one.
He could
those
be.
shots, Bobby. He plays golf. He plays real golf shots. Yeah. I mean, on Friday when he drew that ball around the tree, oh my God!
You noticed. Finally, somebody noticed. He is not a stock. I didn't even bring that up. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was going to be my topic. He is not a stock. Hit a straight ball at a flag or a cut at the flag every single time. You saw it, man. I'm so happy you saw it. He shapes shots. He sees shots and he shapes shots, which is a blessing, because that's how you get at certain pins. And he's smart, right? We hit some very conservative tee shots, like a number 3. Everybody pounds driver up there. Everybody hits it in the right rough and gets blocked. And we just lace a 3-wood up there in a wedge or a 9-iron. And what's funny, I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, I don't know how these guys have been on tour, like Pat and Kazai, for 10 years now, and these guys are still forcing driver up there 4 days. I mean, far be it from me I'm not criticizing, to each his own, but that's an obvious 3-wood to me. So anytime, our practice round is mostly, that's what we spend our practice round time on, right? We're big tee shot strategy guys, right? Get in and play. What's the smart thing to do? And he hit it in the rough a couple of times, and I'll tell you, I don't know if you can tell on TV, but he is jacked.
Yeah, he's strong. Strong kid.
Ripped. I saw him take his shirt off a couple times in the locker room, and I'm like, this dude looks like a bodybuilder, and that's a huge advantage out of rough at any golf course, because they can really muscle something out. I think we had only one lie on, I don't even know the whole number, 13, that it almost looked like the guy who dropped the flag stepped on it, and I asked the guy, I'm like, it's okay if you stepped on the ball. You can't get fired as a volunteer. Nobody's going to yell at you. But if you did step on it, please tell us, because we would get relief. And he's like, no, I came close. I didn't step on it, but it looked like there was a big footprint there. I could have been wrong, but there was only one he could advance, like about 90 meters or 100 meters. But he's the full package, bro. It's official.
His short game is money too.
30, 16 for 19. Yeah, 16 for 19. Now, I will tell you this, 16 out of 19 times getting up and down. Wow. That's a lot. But I'm going to be honest and tell you that, like, 3 of, as it should be, 3 or 4 of them were making 8 or 10 footers, but he's just like, I said it before with these Koreans, man, their short game. It's just when you caddy for them, you feel like they're never dead. You caddy for most guys and you're like, let's just let's just get a putt for par. These guys are trying to knock it really, really, really close. And if you ever watch a Korean practice, there's more time spent chipping and putting than there is anything else, times 2, maybe almost times 3.
And the craziest thing though is that his swing is the best part of his game, I feel like. Yeah. Like his workability. And you're right. That is a great point. He has tremendous balance in his golf swing. It really is. What really impressed me was going from hitting a draw onto the green on the par 5, and then the next hole hitting a low cut down the fairway off the tee. I'm like, what in the hell? I'm like, this kid is money to be able to pull that off on kind of back-to-back swings, because remove obviously 2 putting for a birdie on the par 5, but then all of a sudden splitting the fairway like 320 with a low cut. It's just unbelievable.
Confidence, you get a world-class player like that, and confidence is just a beautiful thing, right? Confidence just breeds confidence. And
I feel like we need to rename this show to S.H. Kim is here, because he was the guy that really broke out.
He was the guy. I think he was the guy that broke out. I think people started to really, really notice what kind of talent he really has. And I truly do believe that he is going to be, I don't know if it's, we got a President's Cup coming up next year. I will say this, he's going to be on President's Cup teams. For sure, he's going to be on President's Cup teams, because he's, Got KH Lee, who's kind of a, vanilla, hit it at the flag, pretty much a straight ball and that kind of stuff. But this kid's got some pizzazz to him too. He looks the part, right? He's got a little pizzazz and a little focus. Well, I'll tell you what we need to do is we need to speed up. We're really slow. He's really deliberate out there. I don't know if you could tell that, but on Sunday, with Justin, we fell behind. And Twosons move fast, right? And we fell behind. We fell a hole behind quick, and then Justin hit one out of bounds on 5 on that par 5, right? And then he whipped one left in the trees, and we don't know what he was doing, but he waited like 6 minutes for a ruling, and then we fell really behind. We got warned to catch up. I was literally hauling ass off the tee trying to get him to drag with me because he walks a little bit slow, and I told him, I'm like, we need to speed up. We don't need this today of all days. We don't have to worry about that. And, about 4 holes later on 11, on 10 official comes up and he goes, hey, I got to, you guys are on the clock. And so I don't even know, if you're the first one to hit, I think it's 50 seconds or something like that, or 60 seconds. If you're the second one to hit, it's either 40 seconds or 50 seconds because you should have your number and everything. And I do everything quick and we get to the ball quick. So we're on the clock. So we drove it in the right rough on 12 on this par 5. And we were, hemming on hawing on what to do. And we were just going to push a 3-wood up there and try and make birdie. And, and he hit the beautiful 3-wood just short of the green. We ended up making birdie there. But as we came off the ball, I saw the official coming down the hill towards us. And I'm like, fuck, we just got a bad time. I guarantee you we got a bad time. And so he comes up. Clay Neal's his name, super nice guy. And he comes up and he's like, SH, I got to give you a bad time. That was a minute 22. And I'm like, and there's a lot of people around, and I'm like, well, what's the next one? He goes, the next one's a penalty. And if you ask me if I ever got nervous in 4 days, that's when I got a little bit nervous. And I looked at him, I go, did you hear that? He goes, penalty? And I go, yeah, penalty, penalty. And then I said, Clay, Clay, we haven't been able to catch up to this 5. And and I said it to him and I go, you've been watching me haul ass off these tees and I'm dragging them with me and we're doing the best we can do. But the fact is we waited for one of your guys for 5 minutes on 5. And he's like, Bobby, come on. It's not that, And it's funny. I called him today too, because I felt so bad. Cause I'm like, God, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Cause I was a little bit sassy, because this kid had never been in that position. And I didn't know, honestly, that the second one was a penalty. And it actually went through my mind for a quick second where I got like some serious hatred because I'm like, all of this slow play talk when you watch Patrick Cantlay head over that thing for fucking 6 minutes or 7 minutes. And I'm so protective. And here's my young 25-year-old birthday trying to win his first golf tournament. He's in contention. And now I'm like, now I can see the headlines, right? Second bad time. I don't even know if it's a 1-stroke or a 2-stroke penalty. And then, and honestly, I'm like, and then the shit I would have to fucking read about myself about that too. But after that, when we got to the green and I just told him, I go, hey, no more fucking around. I'm going to get to the ball first. I'm going to have you a number. And he goes, I am slow. And I go, you're not slow walking to the ball. You're slow when we are talking about this. And then once you pull the club, you get even slower and very deliberate. And I understand it's focus and you're trying to win a golf tournament. But I did actually call Clay today because I felt bad. And we had the greatest discussion. And he's like, Bob, that's no problem, man. That's the heat of the battle. He had never been there before. You've been in that position and I understand it. He goes, we don't take that stuff personally. And then we started discussing on those officials are out there to make sure that everything moves slowly and everything's done properly and that kind of stuff. But you know what the most important thing about those officials are? They're there to help us. And they're there to help us get our players better. And I worked for slow players before and it's a little bit of a process, but at some point you got to learn how to chip off 6 to 12 seconds off a shot. And that will I think that comes in time when you're more familiar. And Clay agreed with me too. When you're caddying for a Korean that doesn't speak well English, I'm like, there should be like a in parentheses in the rule books that if an American's working for a Korean, he gets like 10 extra seconds because I can tell him something, but he's going to ask me again what I said and what it means, 3 times out of 10. And that takes a little bit longer, but that was a little bit nervy. And unfortunately, when you get off the clock and when you catch up, but when you get off the clock, they never really come up and tell you, okay, you're off the clock, right? So you're always like looking, where is he? Are we still on the clock? Can we take a little bit longer? Because to be honest, from a caddy perspective, I don't want my guy hitting the shot until he's ready, especially in that especially in that position. I mean, I am sure in the money games that you've played in over your life where you're like, I'm playing fucking good, and you're looking back and you're like, yeah, I know I'm slower than shit, but I'm still going to do what I'm doing because I'm
There's been
trying
a
to make
few times.
a couple bucks, and it's even a bigger scale for him. So, man, 2 weeks off, paid a lot of bills today, a lot of credit cards off today, and
Oh, so when does that money hit?
he gave me a check Monday night.
Wow.
Yeah, he's old school. He just gives me a check. So, me and Uncle Sam have never got along very good. He's very happy. The state of South Carolina is very happy today. So it was a big stress relief for me. And hopefully this gives him, he's probably made a little less than $3 million. I hope, he told me last week that he's pretty sure, he's 99% sure he's getting a place this year, and he's going to get it in Dallas, which is close to his agent. There's a huge Korean community there. So all systems go to me, man. I really want this kid to get the respect he deserves. And I think that now, he's not just raised some eyebrows with fans and that kind of stuff and with golf media, yada, yada, yada. But I think that I don't think other than Dustin, I can remember players coming up to me and saying such good things about such a young player. And that's a really, really good feeling. And it plays into a hand of a caddy, that's because confidence is a huge thing with caddies too, right? Making a split decision or something like that. And I think that just plays into our hand, and I'm super, super excited. Got 2 weeks off. We don't have much golf. Obviously we do have the Solheim Cup coming up, I think on Friday for the ladies. And, we're just going to take a break and get ready to kick some ass in Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm going to do the same thing again too. I'm going to go in Saturday. I'm going to roll a bunch of balls on Sunday and Monday and get some ammunition. I know he played okay there last year. I know he doesn't like Bermuda as much as he likes Poana or Bent. But then on the flip side, I do know that, he had a really nice tournament in Vegas. So I'm super excited. As you know, this is the most excited you've seen me in 300 days, 297 days, or whatever the struggle's been. And let's
true.
Let's say something about Troy Merritt shooting 7 under 65 on the last day and getting in the house at 13 under. And I tell you something though, the morning out there, you get no wind whatsoever. We got a lot of wind on Sunday, and it wasn't quite as warm. So there was a little feeling out period, and you're in canyons there, Matt. And just because up top it's going southwest, it can fool you down below throwing, you throw grass at, 8 feet, 10 feet up in the air is not necessarily what it's doing, right? It's 60, 80 or 100 feet in the air. But I was super pumped. The second message I got was from Troy, of course. And that was, he told me he's over the yips. He put an Odyssey putter in, that hot putter that everybody's using, the Jailbird,
yeah.
I think with a little longer one on it. So, Troy from 160 or 170 on the money list has now fought his way back, to 180.
Good for him.
And yeah, and he should keep his card every year. He's Troy Merritt, right? He should keep his card every single year. I mean, he's never gonna, it's pretty sure he's never gonna win 3 tournaments in 1 year or something like that. But and when you leave a player and first 8 tournaments with him, yes, he was out of gas and that kind of stuff. But I've had phenomenal luck at getting on bags where there is immediate success. And now all of a sudden, with finishing second in 9 starts, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that is kind of immediate.
It's quick.
Success. I'm not saying I'm a better caddy than Micah, but I'm a different style and a different personality.
You got a calming presence to you.
I think
I told you that from the very first time I interviewed you.
And he told me that too. And he told me that in the locker room. And he goes, I'm very comfortable with you standing next to me. I feel like I can tell you anything, and you are, processing what I'm saying. And if I say something negative, you're not taking it negative, because, we've all had the shit beat out of us as caddies before. I've been fortunate. I mean, nothing compared to what some guys have gone through. Everyone I've worked for is pretty cool. I mean, Sungjae, as we know, is a tough bag, so to speak, but and just, we got
the toughest thing with him is the schedule. I mean, not only that though, but
everybody,
we've talked about it.
So people say that on TV too, and you kind of look back now, like Sungjae's played like 26 tournaments or 28 tournaments this year, but when I was caddying for him, he's playing 36 or 38, right? And he was at at Woods and my guy's jealous of Sungjae. I'm going to be honest with you. My guy's jealous of Sungjae, and he's jealous of Sungjae because Sungjae is the best Korean player in the world. I think we all think. You probably think the same thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, Siwoo can show up 6 weeks out of the year. Tom Kim can show up 6 weeks out of the year. But as far as consistency goes, Sungjae is the model of consistency. And he was like, "How can I be that consistent?" And I was trying to explain to him, and I'm like, "You got to give yourself a little bit of a break." You know, first year in this country, Korn Ferry Tour, hotel every single year, you know, second year, rookie year, flying everywhere quick, playing in Monday Pro-Ams, 38 tournaments the year, hotel every year, no base, nothing like that. And he's like, well, Sungjae did it. And I'm like, you know, here's the difference between you and Sungjae is Sungjae's mom and dad do everything for Sungjae so Sungjae can focus on golf. The laundry's done. The scheduling for dinners are done. They have a plan. Mom and dad have a plan for everything, and that takes a lot of pressure. And Sungjae expressed that to me, and he's like, man, it's so easy for me because all I have to do is play golf. I get plenty of rest. My parents take care of everything. I don't have to worry about going to pick up this or pick up that or where we're going to eat at dinner or finding Korean barbecue or Thai food or whatever. It's already done. So, you know, we'll see, but I have a lot of expectations for this young man. And I know that this young man has a lot of expectations for himself. And, you know, he's a great story too. 4 years, he really had no status anywhere, right, Matt? And he Monday qualifies for a KPGA, a Korean golf event, and he wins it that week. And that just, you know, he's done it the hard way, you know, and he's worked himself. You know what I like about him? He gets better every single year, right? And we're just starting out together, and I'm no spring chicken anymore, brother. You know, I'm 59 years old, and really sometimes I sit back and, you know, I've really cleaned up a lot in my life, and I'm just like, how long can I physically go? You know, and then I turn over and I have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old sitting on the couch, and I'm like, as long as I can walk, I think, but how long am I going to be super duper, you know, sharp or whatever? And I always thought like 65 was my number because I don't look, I mean, it's funny. I tell people are like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 60. Now I'm telling everybody I'm 60 because I'm looking for the sympathy votes instead of 59. And I just, you know, maybe a kid like this can keep me a little bit younger for a while, I guess. Wouldn't that be nice? You know,
it's like when old grandparents get a puppy, you know, same thing.
Yeah.
It keeps them young.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, let's keep going. Let's just keep going.
Let's keep it rolling. I mean, you did allude to something, and I gotta get into it.
What did I do?
Sahith Theegala. What's the bone to pick here? Because everybody's saying all these great things and everything, and I'm like,
are you calling him Wonder Kid? Are people calling him Wonder Kid?
They are. I mean, they're basically saying he's the next great big thing, and you know, he hits the ball a mile, and he's so good.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. He's not going to be the next great thing. I'm gonna. And he's a SoCal guy, and I'm close with his agent. I'm close with his team. I know his caddy Carl very well. He used to work for Cam Tringali ever. And I'm super stoked for Carl. His very first win. You know, we always get the flag. Caddies always get the flag. Not Carl. He brought the whole damn stick in with him into the locker room. We're like, how are you putting that on the plane? He's like, dude, I live in SoCal, bro. I'm driving home. I'm hanging the stick out the window the whole way. So I can't leave Carl out because I was super excited. I was super excited for him. But okay, so here's my rundown on Sahith. He's going to make a boatload of money for 20 years, right?
Okay.
But he's got some things to clean up. So if you read an article, read articles where now he's just so chill out there and that kind of stuff, that's not true, because he does some stuff out there that is still a little bit immature. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
We were standing on 11T, and he hit this little chip, and he had a couple early meltdowns. He didn't get off to a great start, a couple whiny meltdowns, but he hit this chip 9 that stayed on top, and it was a brutal putt coming back, and he knew that. And my guy was going through his routine, and he turned his club upside down and hit the grip as hard as he could against the bag. We jumped. Me and my player both jumped, and I looked death stared at him. You know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like it's not my place to do it, but my guy is so shy, and he just doesn't know how to handle those situations communication wise. So I just death stared.
Well, you're like the bodyguard out there for SH with him not knowing much English and everything.
I think you learn. I think when you become friends with Bones and you watch Bones work for Mickelson and the way he works for JT and that kind of stuff, you feel like you're a little bodyguard out there under situations because there's so many people moving and that kind of stuff. And it's Bones' big thing is protecting his man, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my God, he worked for Phil for 20 some years.
True.
He was protecting a lot. He was protecting a handful there, but. When he did that, I'm all about the rage and getting it out and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's a cool thing to do, if it distracts your playing partner or your competitor, the guy that you're basically, we're playing the golf course and we don't think about beating one of each other. But after the end of the day, when I can say that my guy beat Justin Thomas by 4 shots, that's a great thing to say, but he just doesn't quite have the maturity yet. You saw, yes, he hits the driver a mile, but Matt, it goes crooked really fast because he goes after it so hard. And the best drives that I saw him hit, like were on number 12, that par 5. And when he hits these little mid-flight, I wouldn't say they're chippy, these slight draw runners, they go forever. And could he be a potential major winner? If he hits more fairways, it's possible. It's possible he could win a major. I don't know for sure. He's got to grow up a lot. I mean, I'm talking about this guy like he's been out here 6 or 8 years, but I think I have to remind myself that this is only Sahith was his second season this year, right? His second season. So he's got a long way to go. But I don't think he's a top. Oh man, I hope his team doesn't listen to this. I really don't, because I don't think he's going to be. I don't see him being a top 10 player in the world yet. He had a very obnoxious gallery, and they were very pro him and that kind of stuff. But they were overclapping when it was time for my guy to hit, or they were moving around quite a bit, and they were very uneducated. And on that hole that he did that, we got up. We got up to the green. And, he hit it, that 60-footer downhill looked like it was going in and it barely missed. He had like 4 feet coming back. And there was some lady in the crowd that was just going absolutely crazy, still clapping and everything and yelling all this stuff. And I looked at Sahith and that, and it wasn't like a gamesman shot, but I was trying to pay him back a little bit. And I knew it wasn't his mom. I go, is that your mom? Like that. And he's like, looked at me real funny. And we're kind of cool, really cool with each other, and he's like, that's not my mom. And I kind of walked away, and he came over. I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going to give it to me now. He's creeping over to me. He creeps over to me, and he goes, I promise you my mom wouldn't act like that. And I'm like, okay, we're cool now. Okay, we're cool now. But he is a phenomenal iron player. He's got a phenomenal short game. He's a phenomenal putter. And if he can get that driver straightened out and hit 63.8% of his fairways for the rest of his life, he's going to make a lot of money, and he's going to be on tour for a long, long time. But I don't think he's, a generational talent, or I don't think he's going to be a multiple major winner. But you're asking the advice of a guy who maybe worked other than Tiger. I mean, wouldn't you say that Dustin is if you talk about modern day generational talents,
DJ's one
for some reason. Yes, an underachiever with only 2 majors, but I mean, that's a generational talent to me. I think Dustin before Justin. I think Dustin before Jordan Spieth. I think Dustin before Koepka. John Rahm. I mean, I don't know. Is that a generational talent? I just mean if you put the whole package together, I think
John Rahm's getting there.
Yeah,
I don't think he's there yet.
Yeah.
He needs a couple more. He needs another major. Who else we got on that list of generational talents?
I think
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, but is that a generational talent?
Not yet.
No, that's not a generational talent. I don't know if I'm thinking too much of athlete part of Dustin, or the things that he could do that no other players could do, because there's a few of them. So, I don't know. I don't think Sahith is a generational talent, but I think he's going to make.
Wow, hot take there, folks. Hot take from Bobby Brown.
Yeah, hot take. He's going to make $4 or $5 million or 10 or 12 million probably, one year. But I don't know. He's got a little bit of maturing and growing up to do. And if he gets that handled and he gets the driver into play, anything's possible. And I would eat my words in the New York second and congratulate him. But right now, I don't see it. It's almost like maybe the monkey's off his back now, because you could just tell out there on Saturdays he wants it, and he wants it really bad. And sometimes when you want it really bad and it doesn't happen that way, maybe he's maybe he's learned his lesson. But the little club beating thing wasn't the first time. I mean, the first few holes when he was a little off kilter, it was, there were some things being said late that he shouldn't have said when my guy was, getting ready to do his thing and that kind of stuff. But
so there's even more there than what you're even saying.
He's the Fortinet champion. I mean, when I start critiquing and you could say talking shit like that, number one, everybody needs to know that's my own opinion, right? It's just my own personal opinion. And I guess I'm allowed to say my opinion. Number two, I'm standing right next. I'm standing, arm's length from these guys for hours at a day, and you can figure somebody out. And if you just leave my little comments of his 5 hours on the golf course, separate them from the person he is, because I don't think there's this better person other than Troy Merritt on the PGA Tour than that kid, to tell you the truth. I mean, he is just a gentleman to everybody. The way he carries himself, he has no attitude or no ego. He's just trying to get a little bit better. And it just goes about what I've been saying to you for years. If they're from SoCal, they're just a notch above everybody else in this world when it comes to coolness, Matt.
Fair play, Bobby. Fair play.
A couple of our listeners too, like Mook. I gotta give Mook a shout out because he actually sent me a couple videos. He must, I don't know what the time difference was. If he was up watching, obviously he knew we were in contention. But Mook, I want to say thanks for the messages, bro. You made my day. And another guy that is a religious listener, Tyler Brown. I also got your messages too, Tyler, and just wanted to say thanks for everybody that's following the journey. I guess I feel like I'm 19 and I'm on my journey. Here I am.
Man, I almost sent you a message, Bobby, and then I'm like, you don't need to hear from me right now.
You could send me a message. I can't tell you how many times where I've had guys in contention before through 2 or 3 days. Then I'm just going to be so completely honest, where you go back to your hotel room and you think to yourself, if we win this, that whole kiss of death, if we win, or, and my questions to myself when I got back to the hotel room and I'm laying in bed and my brain's wandering or some kind of stuff, my question was, can we win? Can he win? Can he win this, instead of, if he wins it, what's going to happen, what doors are going to open and that kind of stuff. But this is going to be a nice little journey to watch how he progresses. And I'm excited to see, what Jackson has to hold, because I just want to know, was he just playing that was at his absolute best? If it's going to continue going, most of these guys, these rookies, when they have a good week, they seem to have 2 or 3 really good weeks, and sometimes 4 in a row. So
yeah, you got to be pretty excited about the next couple of weeks. Now, you did mention that so his schedule, he's only playing in the next 3, and then he's going to take time off.
Yeah, so we'll play Jackson, Mississippi, the Sanderson Farms. We'll play the Shriners, which is Vegas. We'll play the Zozo, which was in.
I may come up to see you in Vegas. I was supposed to come up to the Fortinet, but things got weird.
I hope you still got power there with hotels, because I heard there's like a couple football games. The hockey team has something going on. I don't think the Formula One race is that weekend. But my point is, we've been shopping hotel rooms and that kind of stuff, and all of us are just like, oh, God, the Strip it's one of those things where how the Strip is. You get a really nice place for $85 one week, and then it's $400 across the across the board. And honestly, I'm not a big Strip guy anymore. Anyways, you've been in the Strip 3,000 times in my life. It does nothing for me. I'm way past my gambling stage. I don't party. I'd rather stay closer to a Nike outlet or something.
I'm probably going to do an Airbnb.
Come on down, man. Yeah. I know a guy who can get you tickets.
That'd be great. Well, you and Brian Hawthorne, who's the GM out there.
Hey, you want to know something? What would be great? I don't know if you could ever do it or win the time, or if we can do it in Scottsdale or even Vegas or something like that. But you really got to come for a full day during a practice round and just walk inside the ropes with us.
That would be cool.
And eavesdrop, I guess, or watch. You know what I mean?
All right, now you've sold me on coming up for the Shriners. Let me see what my schedule looks like.
And then just walk with us. But even a good golfer like you'd be amazed at how much you would learn at their preparation and what they pay attention to. And honestly, and course strategy. You think everybody just wails and bombs it everywhere. These guys are not only the best golfers in the world, they're the best people in the world at figuring out golf courses and how to play them and how to play them properly. So I think it would be I think it would be fun for you, number one. Number two, you would be like that night after your 18th glass of, what are you drinking these days? I don't see much going up for you today.
Good old Bushwood.
Oh yeah, Bushwood.
Yeah.
And after your 18th Bushwood, I think you would probably look at me and go, Bobby, fuck, that was like one of the coolest days of my golf life. So come on, man, you're always welcome whenever you want.
I think I got to because Brian Hawthorne.
They don't allow you at Augusta in the ropes.
That's Brian Hawthorne, I hired him at Full Swing Golf, the golf simulator company, and then he went back to Vegas, and he was living in Vegas at the time still. He was doing it remotely with us, and he ended up getting back into the golf industry because he was at the Wynn golf course before they shut down, and then they actually brought him back, and then he ended up going over to TPC Summerlin. So he runs, he goes nuts during the Shriners Children's Open. He's just absolutely overwhelmed during that time. So I don't even know if I'd be able to see him or not, but man, it would be cool to come up and see you guys. And then you got the Zozo Championship in Japan. I'm not making that trip. So, no. And I'm not going to Jackson, Mississippi either.
No, you don't. It's an awesome golf course, but there's not a lot to do. Let's just say that. There's not a lot to do. And then I don't know. So you're probably looking at the schedule after Zozo. What do they have, like Bermuda and then Cabo?
No, so Cabo is first, and then Bermuda,
and then Sea
Island, yeah.
And then that's
and then the Hero World Challenge.
I guess one big question I would, I'm just assuming now after what I saw, he's going to, have another one of these really good weeks. But I wonder if he's on the bubble of 59 or 60, if he goes back to Korea and then realizes, man, maybe I need to come back down. Maybe I need to come back to Sea Island. So he's always got, that's what I think that's November 17th, the weekend of November 17th through the 19th or 16th through the 19th. So hopefully we'll have it, hopefully
that
we'll be
is.
Great.
That's a good call off the top of your head because I know you don't have it in front of you. It is the 16th through the 19th.
Yeah, that is a good call.
Yeah.
I told you, what did I tell you? God didn't give me much, but when it comes to numbers and that kind of stuff, he just gave me a little bit more than some other people.
Well, how did Justin Thomas look on Sunday to you sloppy, for the Ryder Cup?
Sloppy. He looked sloppy. Something's, it's funny. I was actually analyzing and watching some stuff too, and I'm like, I feel like and I'm no genius, but feel like he's taking the driver a little bit inside and maybe a little over the top, but he looked sloppy. It's not the JT that I played with in Maui with Sung Jae a couple years ago that just puts on clinics and that kind of stuff. Obviously, he is struggling with something. The putting didn't look great. The short game always looks great. The wedges always look great. That's not the issue, but he was struggling with the tees. He got easily frustrated out there, to tell you the truth, and he knew my guy was slow, and he kind of fired a shot at me walking off of 17, saying, "Hey man, you got to figure out how to speed him up." And I just looked at him. I'm like, I've been trying for 3 months. He's actually gotten better, and I don't know if he was just venting or something like that, but he definitely didn't look like the Justin Thomas that I have seen in the past. But with that being said, after he hit that ball out of bounds and then with one of the left trees on arguably maybe the number 5, that one where we were curving those balls, the easiest par 5 possibly on the golf course, or second easiest anyways, he got out there with a really nice bogey, and he looked like, and he made a birdie, and then maybe he got to actually 2 over, I think, maybe during the round before he made an eagle. But even the kid commented to me, and he's like, "Oh, Justin Thomas, he big heart, he no quit." And that's one thing about JT. He might, drop an F-bomb here and there and lick off kilter and pissed off at the world. But man, he was a guy that's got all the money in the world, won 1 million tournaments, a couple majors. And he is just like, he's like a rookie out there, just grinding and being very, very professional. So, but he's not that sharp. I'm not saying he won't play good in the Ryder Cup, because the fact is the Ryder Cup is not a 4-day event. Stroke plays 72 holes. It's, we've talked about it before. Most matches rarely go past 16 holes, honestly, to tell you the truth, or 17 holes. They don't even finish the day most of the time, but he just didn't look that shit.
What about Homa? Did you get a chance to see him at all?
No, but he was, I know we warmed up next to him for a couple times over the weekend, very close to him, and we were next to him all week early in the week hitting balls. And there was a lot of videotaping going on by his caddy and that kind of stuff. And so he's not happy with something. I know he finished at 13 under, maybe tied for 7th or something like that, and didn't have a great first day. And then kind of as you expected him to be the player to beat, honestly, after winning twice, he played his way into contention and didn't continue his run. But no, he didn't particularly look sharp. I mean, if you ask me the guys that we were paired with, who looked the sharpest all in all was probably my guy, to tell you the truth. Tee to green and putting, he looked the sharpest. It's just, Theegala made more birdies than he did. Did I tell you 3 bogeys in 72 holes for my guy? 3 in 72 holes. And if I
made 2 rounds with no bogeys.
If I went down 15 stats for you, he's like not out of the top 8 or the top 12 in any stats. So that's why I was surprised
to hear you say that the thing that impressed you the most was his putting, because he didn't make a whole lot of longer putts that you'd need to make in order to make a ton of birdies.
Yeah, but he made the putts that he needed to make, and when he needed to make a putt, right? When he needed to make a par putter, when he needed to make a birdie putt to keep momentum going or staying within distance, he made them. He made a lot of putts on Thursday. He really made a lot of putts and some longer ones. But honestly, he looked so confident with this putter, and he read the green so impressively well that, that's the one thing that stands out to me, because I'm used to him missing putts. I'm used to him being up and out of putts before, and I'm just, whoever this House of Choi guy is, thank you. Thank you very much. You'll make me a lot of money. So, the putting guys really got him structured, and I was super, super stoked to see a guy putting with a plan out there, and not deviate your plan and not go, oh, how's this stroke look? How's that stroke look? It's like, oh, man, get out of your own head, bro. Just get out of your own head. I was reading some stuff. I can't read off the quotes. I like quoting athletes, but I was reading some stuff about some big time athletes, and I can't even remember who they are. I'm still a little long flight from over there to San Francisco, but I'm like, they're just talking about how the difference between a champion and an average player is a mindset. Usually 8 times out of 10, it's a mindset of having confidence and believing in yourself and relishing the opportunity when it comes, like you're never going to get that again, and putting yourself in the box, and I saw a lot of that out of, we didn't win, but, I think
the mindset's there.
Yeah, I think he's going to win the ball tournament. Whether it be in this fall or next year, I'm not jinxing myself, but I'd be super surprised if now all of a sudden he's not a guy that's going to be talked about here next year a little bit, So,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he has a fantastic 2024, because if he's got anything along the lines of what he did out there, and you put him on a little bit tougher of a golf course, I feel like he is sitting pretty on a tougher golf course, because he was the best ball striker out there, bar none, than anybody else that was on the golf course. I think if he makes a couple more birdies, obviously, he's going to end up winning that thing. I think he easily could have been at 24, 25 under.
Yeah, he probably could have. And I have to catch myself when I say that, because I honestly think the same thing you do. But then I go back to the 4, 5, and 6 putts that he had to make for par when he needed to make them, especially a couple there early on Sunday. And then I'm like, well, that's a break even. That's a break even thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
But he's got it all. He's got it all.
He definitely does. Well, here, folks, let me tell you really quick, because we were talking about the Ryder Cup with Max Homa and Justin Thomas. That is obviously next week, and that's going to be next week's show. So Bobby and I are going to do a Ryder Cup special to where we are mainly going to talk about the Ryder Cup. It is going to be the preview show of all preview shows. Bobby's going to be sharing a lot of stories from past Ryder Cups, some that he has not shared before. So this is going to get pretty interesting, and it's certainly going to be a great time, but we're going to do that show live. So certainly you do not want to miss the live version, because maybe if we go a little bit over the top, that's going to get cut in the post-production work that ends up going out for the permanent stuff. So definitely make sure that you are on next week on the live version, and that's going to be on millions.co. We're also going to have it on our YouTube channel, and then also on X, Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter. So it'll be on there as well. But moving into the next part of it, I just want to give a quick little shout out, because I know we're running a little bit long in the tooth tonight, because obviously we had to digest everything about S.H. Kim. I know you're excited about him. I'm excited about him. And I really wanted to learn what your insights were, being there firsthand and working with him throughout the week. So I really appreciate everything that you've said in regards to S.H. But Grayson Murray, he is on his way back to the PGA Tour. And I just have to ask you, Bobby, because his winning photo, he looks jacked with no waist whatsoever. And it's like he's got no body fat. And I believe you said months ago that he stopped drinking. Is that right?
He did. Yeah, he's got to be well into 120 to 150 days sober. And then and honestly, that's the difference with Grayson Murray or not, right? He has two, I'll just say it. He has two vices in this world, and one's drinking and one's gambling, and they don't really go very good together. And we've all known for a very long time that he is a very good golfer, and he's almost freaky good with his talent, what he can also do with a golf ball. But he's, I don't know how to say it. I don't know if it's my place to say it, but I'll say it anyways. But he's not, he'll tell you himself. I know I'm not playing with full deck, but he's not really playing. A lot of people in this world don't play with full decks, if you can get my translation on that. And he struggles with a lot of stuff, and he's admittedly struggled with a lot of stuff. And I just hope, and I don't hope, it's almost like I pray that he just keeps it going together, because he has a chance to make a lot of money in the next 10 years. And then he doesn't really have to play any golf, but he has his issues. He's very open and he's very public. He has made a mess of some of his comments on Twitter and on Instagram. I've told you before that there's a side of Grayson Murray that I know that other people don't know, because I spent a lot of time, I worked for him for a short while, but I spent a lot of time with him as a friend too. And he's done some really stupid things. And he's also a guy who somebody reached out to him on Twitter, a fan or something like that, who was having some kind of financial problems. And people don't know this, so I'm going to tell you. So Grayson Murray buys him a car when he was making money and that kind of stuff. So, I always see him pick up dinner tabs or this or that. He's one of those guys. It seems weird. Some of us guys that might be missing something every now and then in certain departments on life are head and shoulders above of everybody else in the cool category or the giving category or the big heart category. And maybe that's the trade-off, but I'm so happy for him. You asked about his physique. Instead of drinking now, he's a gym rat, and he's eating properly, and he's doing all the right things. And honestly, I have to tell you the truth. He made a lot of money quick. He didn't know how to handle it. And I'm sure he got close to broke. And along with making a lot of money and spending a lot of money, is you get a lot of bills and you probably get a lot of debt, and that puts a lot of pressure on you, and pressure equals anxiety, and he struggles from anxiety. And I think maybe he just got to the point where he's like, I'm not going to be this person anymore, and I'm not going to live my life like this. I deserve better. And he is putting in harder work than obviously 99.8% of the people that have any kind of professional status, and is starting to show. And I couldn't be happy for the guy, and I'm happy for his parents. He went to a couple different colleges, and he'll self-admittedly tell you.
I didn't know he went to ASU.
Yeah, for like a semester or something like that. When John Rahm was there, he's told me stories about ASU, and he wasn't very comfortable there first time away from home. And then he went to East Carolina, and he did some good at East Carolina, but he was always a different guy, and he's almost a little socially awkward, if that makes any sense. You would never notice it by his interviews and everything like that, but he's a little bit socially awkward, and you could tell that he didn't know where he stood in this world. And his parents, have stood behind him since day one, because honestly, he's put them he's put them through the ringer and that kind of stuff. And he's, hey, everybody's got something, right? Everybody's got something. And a big man to me is a man that goes out in publics and says they have something instead of trying to play like, I'm cool and everything's all right. It's okay. It's, fuck, it's a big thing these days, man. It's okay not to be okay. It's nobody's totally okay. And he's embraced that whole attitude. It's really starting to show with his golf. And he's, I like Kip Henley, but I don't like Kip Henley. And it's funny. I saw Grayson's, we had those late tee times, and with the time difference, everything, I saw him win that tournament. And I just almost shit my pants when I saw Kip Henley up there doing an interview with him. And I'm like, oh my God, Kip, this guy brought you back from the dead. So, I guess I'm happy for Kip Henley because, he's had some struggles over, my issues with Kip, right? The deal. He thinks he's the player out there, and he won the big break 47 fucking years ago. Who gives a shit? And he's a big VIP, and there's a lot of things I like about Kip and a lot of things that I don't like about Kip, and he'd probably say the same thing about me. But I do like the fact that he's making some money and he's got a nice bag to hang on to. But Kip's sensitive, right? Kip's super, super sensitive. And Grayson, I read an interview or heard an interview where Grayson went and finally sucked it up, and because he had a bad temper, some serious rage issues out there. It's been well documented. But he went and saw some shrink dude that works with like Navy SEALs and all this kind of stuff. And something clicked for him last week where I read that he made a big number right off the bat, and when he would have had a meltdown, he didn't say anything. But my point is that doesn't always last forever. Human beings got to snap. S.H. Kim, I've seen him get really pissed off before. I told you about Sahith's deal, Justin's deal, Ram, John Rahm. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the only thing I worry about Kip is not able to take it with the alligator skin or sandpaper skin that you really have to have at a super, super high level of caddying out here. Does that sound cocky? No, not cocky.
Not really.
It's real. You got to be able to take shit. So I hope
you got to be able to take the shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And more importantly, I mean, it's a day-to-day thing with Grayson, right? That's the way he is. It's a day-to-day thing. And I hope he doesn't think 30 days down the line or 90 days down the line or a year down the line, because that's usually the downfall for some addicts and that kind of stuff. There's some truth in that. There's a lot of truth in that. They take it day by day, and they thank God for everything that's come their way. And I'm pulling for him. And I've always pulled for him on this show, and I've said nothing but great things about him because I like I said, I've spent a lot of time with him, and I spent a lot of time driving back and forth one off season to his house, 4 hours to keep him working during freezing cold winters at Raleigh. And he came out of La Quinta and just put on a clinic the very first day. I think he shot 62 or 63 at the stadium course, and I thought it was on. And then, and then he finished 27th at Torrey, and I could see the downfall. And I'm not drinking. And then we're staying in the same hotel. I see him drinking at the bar. So I've seen the up and the down, and I hope it's just all up for him because
I hope so too. He looks great.
He's a great talent. He's a great talent. Excuse me, and a great person. I wish him nothing but the best. But I hope he doesn't beat me one fucking tournament, my guy, next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That Korn Ferry Tour list is funny. If you go down it, you go with those 30 names, and they only have 2 events left. This one's a 100-man field at Ohio State. The next one next week is the Grand Poobah.
Oh, I love that you said that.
Throw that in there for you. And there's only 75 guys. But if you wanted me to get a little zinger in, if I went down that list right now at 30, I could tell you fucking 12 of them that are going to be one and done, that are going to be up for a year and then back down. And then there's the 16, and then there's always 3 others that you never think about. Eric Cole is the perfect example. This year, JT Poston would have been a perfect example. Denny McCarthy would have been a perfect example. There's always 2 or 3 guys out of the KFT every year that just kind of got their card and you didn't know much about it. Ben Griffin could possibly be in that category.
Oh, so we're going to have to do that in 2 episodes. We'll have to run through the list and have you go through and say who's going to be one and done.
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah.
And then you got the talents like Pearson Coody, like my son's guy, right? Or Parker Coody, or I don't,
Is Pearson, he made it to the PGA Tour, right? And I saw that.
I think he's 17 or 18 right now. So mathematically, with 2 events, they're not going to say next to his name he's mathematically locked because they can't. But he's locked. He's not going to miss out. So now
I saw a thing by the PGA Tour that said he's tour bound.
They did say something. Were you watching it today?
No, this was a couple weeks ago.
I think you were watching something with James Nitties, who does most of the KFT commentary, and he said something that he thought he would be tour bound or something like that. But he's going to be on the tour. You know that guy I've been raving about all year, Carter Jenkins?
Yeah.
That big bomber that I think is the second coming of Dustin. He just finished second to Grayson last week, and he moved from number 43 to 25. So these are big weeks for him. And just I've said this 3 times before, but I'm going to say it again. Everybody, all you gamblers out there, when he shows up on this tour, bet a couple bucks early in the year on Carter Jenkins, because he is a freak like I've never seen freaks before. But there's obviously 10 or 12 young guys on there that are just going to be on tour for a long, long time. And the big gossip out there right now is the Argentinian that got suspended for a couple of weeks, Alejandro Tosti. Are you familiar with this story?
I'm not.
That I guess he's a little bit bipolar and might like to cheat or something like that. And he was number 3 on the list or number 4 on the list. And he did something really bad in the middle of a fairway. I don't really know the details, but it was some F-bomb laden thing with a lot of crowd right there. And I guess the tour had been building a book up on him. And Daniel won't give me any details because Daniel's too cool and he doesn't talk shit like me, my son Daniel. But he says,
Come on, Daniel.
Come on, Dan. Give me some scoop. I just want to know if he's a cheater or not. That's what I want to know, if he's a cheater or not, Dan. But they suspended him at Boise. They DQ'd him and suspended him, and they didn't let him play last week either. And I think he's back playing this week. But Daniel did say he's really, really good. That's another name to remember. But we'll have a little mix episode with half dedicated to the KFT graduates, and I can go down the Bobby. It's like Mel Kiper's big board.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Bobby Brown big board
winner, but I can identify talent.
I love that, because you normally are like a week or 2 off, but you identify them ahead of time. And then you give up real quick on people.
Breakout story of the year, but Wyndham Clark stole my breakout story of the year from Kurt Kitayama. Boy, did I look like a genius that night at Beta, didn't I?
You did, and then Wyndham came right through and took it over. What about Vincent
Norman winning the Irish Open 2 weeks ago? We haven't seen each other in a while.
I know.
That.
Well, and you were touting him, and then you chose him for one of our penny bets, and he ends up winning, and you wanted an extra 1,000 pennies because of the win. Oh, I remember the whole thing, and then, of course, him winning.
Does that lead
the
us
Irish
into our
Open?
Next topic?
It does, which is LIV Golf Chicago.
Wait,
so I'm going to give a quick rundown.
Well, didn't we say before the show started this was going to be a short one, we thought?
You know what? I didn't realize how many questions that I was going to have about S.H. Kim based off of what information you were providing.
You haven't seen me in 2 weeks, and you forgot how much of the king of the run-on sentences and losing focus and jumping back into a story.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I was bought in the entire time. I didn't really stop you that much because I had questions, but like you had so many good points around his game and everything and so much insight that I'm like, I can't stop you right now. I need to hear this information because I do think, and again, I'm going on record once again, that I think he is going to be the big deal heading into 2024 because that game that he has is so damn good and it travels well, Bobby. And if you're telling me that he wasn't really feeling pressure, well, and this kid's got some rest and everything.
I'm sure he was, but I shouldn't sense it. Usually you can sense it with those rookies there.
But he looked exhausted at the end of the year. It was a long year.
Yeah. They move fast. He never, obviously, doesn't move fast, but rookies have a habit. One of my big pet peeves is I watch with rookies when they're in contention for the first time is if you're posted up on a tee and you're waiting for a green to clear or a fairway to clear, how quick they pull the club out of the bag. If they pull the club out of the bag really quick and they're kind of walking around with the club in their hand, they're super duper nervous. If you watch a veteran, he waits till the last second to pull the club out and then step right into his routine. So
wow. There you go. Little inside scoop there if you've hung on till the...
Do we have any golf this week?
We got LIV Golf Chicago, Bobby. And this is
September? We haven't talked about them since May.
This is the forgotten golf league, my friend. This is where I I've had a lot of conversations about them during this 5 week stretch, just in like a private setting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because how can you keep momentum going when you have a 5 week hiatus? There is no other sport. I would even go on the limb and say there's no other sport in the world that in the middle of the year takes
Yeah.
off 5 weeks. I just don't know of it.
The Premier League or the Champions League, they don't take those big breaks, do they?
Nobody
Yep.
does. I
Yeah,
mean, I
exactly.
guess the only one that I could imagine would be cricket, but I don't even think cricket
I
does
don't know
that.
much about.
It's
Yeah.
just
No.
it doesn't make any sense for momentum, and you need to have momentum with these leagues and sports. And even I'm noticing that their social media is down. Normally, it's like, okay, they're coming back to an event after like a week or two being off, and their social media picks up, and they just start
Yeah, it
pumping
hasn't been.
content.
It
Has
hasn't
not been
been
as
much.
much.
Yeah, I'm wonder. That's
Well,
interesting. Good point.
there's no franchise owners, right? And what
Right.
is incredible is that the TGL league, the indoor golf league with that's Tiger and Rory's
Yeah.
through the PGA Tour, they already have multiple owners. So LA, obviously, I interviewed the president from
Yeah.
LAGC. Then you've got the Fenway Group in Boston. Steve
Yeah.
Cohen, who owns the New York Mets, is the New York team. You got
Yeah.
Arthur Blank
They're
down in
blanks.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
who is with the Falcons. And then
Yeah.
there's going to be a couple other teams
Yeah.
that get announced here shortly. So they have ownership. Like that's how Live Golf was supposed to be structured. And it's not. And you can see that they're probably not going to get ownership. And they're probably just going to survive one more year because look at the contracts. They were 3-year contracts, right? So they're going to last one more year or else Saudis would have to pay out a ton of money and not have anything in return for it, which I don't know if they're getting anything in return for it right now in terms of revenue. So who knows? But I expect them to have one more year and then it goes bye-bye and the team sport becomes the TGL league. And the TGL league may expand from an indoor golf league to having some outdoor events as well and with these teams and whatnot. But we'll see how all of that plays out in the months and years to come. That being said, one thing, because he has a contract in which his head might get chopped off if he doesn't show up, is that Brooks Koepka has to play this week. That was a surprise.
Week before the Ryder Cup. Well,
week before. So do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for Brooks Koepka?
I think it's irrelevant to tell you the truth. You know, they made a scouting trip over there 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, the whole team, right? And they went and played for a couple days, and he was, you know, a couple guys didn't go. I was surprised. Spieth didn't go. 3 guys didn't go. Spieth didn't go because they just had their baby today, actually. But
I saw that
a little girl was going to come in any day, so I understand that. But Cantlay and Schauffele didn't go, which was a little bit surprising to me. But Brooks did go, so he's already seen the golf course for a couple days. And honestly, he spent 2 or 3 years, a couple of years over there in the European Tour. I'm not sure if that course was in the rotation for the Italian Open or not, but if it was, he's probably already played it before. But I think what we just talked about, like they're actually playing golf after 5 weeks. I think it's a good thing that Brooks is getting a tournament under his belt right before the Ryder Cup.
That's a good perspective.
So he hasn't had any tournament action, so to speak, in 5 weeks. You know, they had the baby. The baby was born a little bit premature. You know, he's probably been super busy at home, getting comfortable to being a new father and everything that goes with that. You know, so I think it's probably a good thing that he gets some, 3 rounds under his belt, and he's got a couple of bucks, and the PGA, of America picks up everything, and I'm sure he's taking a nice private flight right over there, and he'll be there in no time, and and he'll fit in just fine. So I think it's.
Yeah, it's not like he's a rookie, right?
Yeah, it's not like he's a rookie. He's been in this big time situation. He knows all about, when we're going to have a good Ryder Cup special. He knows all about what the first tee is like. We're going to have a really good episode. He knows what the first tee is like. He's been through it numerous times already. So I think it's a good thing for Brooks to get some pressure under him and play it in front of a few people, and he'll be raring to go. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Ryder Cup.
Oh, I can't wait. I absolutely cannot wait. And I've got some stuff that I've saved up for the Ryder Cup, just some hot takes that I feel like are going to catch maybe you by surprise and maybe your audience by surprise.
There's going to be a penny bet there.
There absolutely is going to be a penny bet. I mean, who is going to bring in the most amount of points for the U.S.? Who's going to bring in the most amount of points for Europe? Who is going to win the Ryder Cup? I mean, there's going to be a lot of action.
Go into your spiel. Where is LIV Golf this week? I don't even know.
Well, LIV Golf is in Chicago. They're at Harvest Farms, right?
They played there last year, right?
They played there last year. They're coming right on back to it. It's a good track. And Cam Smith won previously. So Cam Smith coming back as the previous winner. And guess what? Here is your current standings to bring everybody back up to speed after this 5-week hiatus. So the individual standings right now, we've got Cam Smith leading the way with 170 points. We got Taylor Gooch following right behind with 149. It's kind of a two-horse race if you look at how these events are played out in terms of points. The winner only gets 40 points. So even if, for instance, Patrick Reed, who's in third, wins this event, he would have to hope that Cam Smith doesn't receive any points, and that's only going to move him to within 10 points of Cam Smith. So Patrick Reed's got a shot. Brooks Koepka is sitting in fourth, tied with Brandon Grace, which is at 112 points. So that's your rundown to bring you back up on the individual side. Then we've got the team side, which I was kind of surprised when I looked at the leaderboard and saw the 4 aces because they have not played great this year, but yet they're still in the lead. 172 points for the 4 aces. Then you've got Torque GC, which is at 163 points, so they're right there. Stinger GC at 156, so they're right there. You got the Crushers at 146, and you got the Range Goats at 143. So really, from a team aspect, that is still up for grabs with a couple weeks remaining for the LIV Golf League. Now, you know my team is the Range Goats, so I'll be pulling for them, no doubt. And we already mentioned that the past winner from the individual side at Chicago, which Harvest Farms, was Cam Smith. So with him being on top of the leaderboard, I expect Cam Smith to come in firing on all cylinders, and I have a feeling Cam Smith is going to go back-to-back. So that's my pick for the actual winner, which we don't bet on that anyways with LIV Golf. And then the past winner from a team aspect was the 4 aces. Now, if everybody's been following the 4 aces or LIV Golf in general, you're going to know that the 4 aces have not played well this year. I actually really like the Range Goats in terms of winning this golf tournament from a team aspect. The 4 aces will, of course, be in contention. They'll probably finish second or third for the most part, which is probably going to push them even further into the lead when it comes to the overall team event if the Range Goats end up winning it. But Bobby, that is the rundown. Let's go into our golf picks.
Well done. Well done, amigo.
Thank you. I know I had to make it at least a bit brief, right? I mean, a quick rundown.
I guess I get to go first, right?
No, that's incorrect. I'm so sorry.
Who are you gonna pick, Matt?
My individual, which is going to be a shocker for everybody. Siwon Kim.
Right. Do I get to pick the team?
No. But you have to pick an individual because I won both of those the last time.
Shenanigans going on. It's been 5 weeks. How do you remember?
I had to go back.
All right. Who's your team?
Obviously the Ironheads. So you got to pick an individual and you got to pick a team.
Okay.
Tell me it's Jedediah.
Huh? Yeah, I'm going to go with Jedediah.
Now, the problem is you can't really go with his team. You can't double down on it because Cam Smith is on that team. So if Cam Smith wins,
I know.
They're not going to finish last.
I'm thinking that I think
you love the high flyers.
I'm going to take Brooks Koepka's team for last. No, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, jeez.
I am going to take Mickelson's team for last.
The high flyers. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to go there. All right.
This is the only team I remember.
Yeah, two solid plays there. I mean, there's not that many teams, Bobby, to remember in the first place.
Man.
You know what's crazy? So I got asked on a podcast, which was a overall sports podcast, and they brought me in as a golf expert and was interviewing me. I
What?
don't know if you saw any of the clips,
Are you
but
moonlighting, man?
I got invited onto the show, and I figured out, yeah, they were like, we want to talk live golf. We want to talk about, that was when I made the prediction for the Tour Championship that Victor Hovland was going to win. And I said certainly. But they asked, they're like, do you ever expect there to be leagues like when professional basketball merged and so forth, and would there be kind of a live golf side to it, like in terms of like the NL versus AL in baseball, right? I'm like, absolutely not. No chance whatsoever. And especially with their schedule. I mean, that schedule is absolutely brutal. But the other one he did ask me was if the players would end up coming back onto the PGA Tour. Obviously, we've heard from Jay Monahan, and in regards to how players are going to potentially have the option to come back onto the PGA Tour once this merger goes through and everything. And that being said, there would be fines and so forth to pay. But the question I have for you, if LIV Golf ends up facing fines for the players to come back onto the PGA Tour, does Saudi Arabia pay those fines for those guys?
Yeah.
I think it's a PR move, right?
Yeah, I think it would. But here's the deal: unless you're a major winner or something like that on that tour, you're not going to have any status, right? They're also talking about these guys having to do it the hard way and come back up. They're not just going to grant them say you can come back and play next year. I mean, a guy like Dustin, who's whatever last major he won or Ryder Cup he played in, that carries, life. Well, he's off the lifetime money list actually, but there's avenues that those guys, obviously Brooks wouldn't have a problem, but you're really only talking about less than 10 guys that would want to come back. I mean, Westwood,
the European guys, I think, would go back onto the DP World Tour.
None of those guys are even competitive. I mean, they could, they wouldn't even really be competitive.
Yeah, but I could see them going back to DP World Tour.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe, but they're not just going to let anybody just come back and go, okay, you can come back, pay this fine. Saudi takes care of it. You're going to be fine. You can tee it up in Sony or whatever. No, they're going to have to go through qualifying or something like that. Guaranteed. They're going to have to earn their way back. There's not going to be a golden, that's opinion of mine, but there's not going to be, Willy Wonka out there opening the gate and rolling out the carpet.
No golden tickets, Bob?
Huh? There's not going to be any golden tickets, bro. There won't be any golden tickets. And
there might be for Brooks Koepka and DJ, though, and Taylor Gooch.
It doesn't matter. The golf world, there's players coming that are going to replace those guys. I worked for one of them.
S.H. Kim, folks, is the real deal. I think that is the biggest takeaway. So I do want to say thank you, Bobby, for your time tonight. Swannies, thank you so much for your sponsorship. Remember, folks, the listeners that have actually made it to this point in the podcast, because, we did a little bit of a marathon tonight, but that's okay. Go to swannies.co, grab yourself some gear. Pull Hook Golf 25 gets you 25% off your entire order. So thanks and shout out to Swannies Golf for sponsoring this episode, because guess what? It also made sure that there's no commercials other than our commercials for Swannies. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise, you end up getting a bunch of the podcast stuff. You get the YouTube stuff. So great stuff out of Swannies. And man, tonight's episode, Bobby, I can't wait. You made me pumped up for next week with our Ryder Cup show. Yeah. And again, guys, that is going to be live. So unless you want the edited version the next day, you better make sure that you are on the live broadcast for that episode, because we're going to be some storytellers coming into next week's episode. And I'm going to be just like all of you. I'm going to be sitting back listening to some of Bobby's stories, and I'm going to try very hard to give them some questions.
What do certain players do in the bathroom after the Ryder Cup is over?
Rip rails. Am I wrong? All right, folks. So you might hear some of that next week's show. I think Bobby's already reconsidering what he's about to share.
Keyword edit.
Yeah, you definitely want to be on the live broadcast for next week's, which will be at 10 p.m. Eastern. It'll be 7 p.m. Pacific time. And again, that's going to be on millions.co. We are going to start putting more content out on millions.co as well. But that being said, that's it for tonight. Bobby, I greatly appreciate you being here once again. And
Solheim Cup, Korn Ferry Tour, and LIV. That's what we got.
There you go.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more information.